Good morning, everybody. This morning we are going to be talking about the power of mentor texts and how a mentor text can help develop young writers. So this is a brief introduction, and we will be building on this this year as one of our go-to strategies in Writers Workshop. So in this presentation, you will learn what a mentor text is. You will learn the value of using a mentor text in your writing classroom. You will learn how to choose quality text, and you will learn about a strategy called ease. So first of all, what is the definition of a mentor text? So here it is defined as pieces of literature that we can return to again and again as we help young writers learn how to do what they may not yet be able to do on their own. And you'll see some pictures up here, some fantastic personal narrative mentor texts. So let's talk a little more. A mentor is defined as someone who we look up to as an expert other. My favorite author, or one of my favorite authors, Lester Laminack, says, the word mentor text, or the word mentor, brings to mind someone I look up to, someone with experience and wisdom beyond my own, someone I have come to trust. And isn't that really what a mentor text is? Something that we can look up to, something that we can lean on for ideas and suggestions. A mentor text is a piece of writing. It can be a book, it can be an article, a poem, an excerpt from a larger piece of writing that serves as a model or example for our young writers. And so what you're choosing as your mentor text or passage will be determined based on what your learning intention and learning goal for your students is. Teachers are using mentor text to showcase specific writing techniques like style, structures, or content that students can study and emulate in their own writing. These texts are carefully selected to match the student's writing level and instructional goals, providing a concrete example of what good writing can look like. As it says here, mentor texts have the potential to inspire and teach students at every step of the writing process, from play and experimentation with words, to planning for writing, to crafting and revising, and to publishing. They really foster that connection between reading and writing. Okay? So let's talk a little more about the value of mentor texts. I think what I just said about them connecting reading and writing is one of the, most obvious values of it. But as McKay says, although the concept of using mentor text to help students become better writers is not new, the result of recent research studies have supported this approach to writing instruction. I feel like it's very important with teachers today, like they're so overloaded with information, that it's important to tell them and show them the research that's backing the ideas that we're asking them to employ in their classrooms, and not have it be just, I'm the coach and this is what I think, but that the research piece is very important to share. One of the biggest values of mentor texts is that students are able to witness firsthand how real authors implement different writing approaches. Rather than teaching our writing skills in isolation or relying on worksheets or whatnot, which have shown very little, have shown to be weak, strategies for writing instruction, mentor texts become resources for students to witness firsthand how real authors implement different writing approaches. That was from Dollins. You'll see her in my references. But mentor texts also, they offer endless examples of superior writing. So not just having the teacher stand up in the front of the classroom and say, writing a shared writing piece, showing them an example of a strategy in their own writing, but let's pull up some of our favorite authors. Why do we like this book? Why is this book our favorite? What is the author doing here that makes this book exciting and fun to read, right? So mentor texts are engaging. They provide scaffolding for our students in such a strong and powerful way. So when you think about there being endless examples, you can talk about poems, you can talk about magazines, newspapers, blogs. How many kids are into blogs these days, right? You can use advertisements. And then even with your older students love using children's books. I mean, even as an adult, I still just love children's books. So children's picture books, um, with older students, for them to search for author's craft and craft moves, right? So let's talk about choosing mentor texts. A mentor text should be initially introduced as reading material. So, and if it's a book that you've read with your class, and possibly one of your favorite books, you can connect with that book, that this author wrote this for a purpose. And the purpose may have been to entertain, it may have been to inform, or persuade, but the author had a purpose for writing this book. And they're not just writing it so that we can tear it apart and analyze it as writers, but they're writing it for your enjoyment or for your knowledge. And so these books can be read over and over again, right? And for different purposes each time. But it's through the reading that students begin to value a book enough to be willing to use that book, to look at it as a writing mentor. What did this author do that made me love this book? Okay, so it needs to start as a read aloud. And then choose those books that inspire your students. If you have a book that your class loves, then can't you say, hey, we can write a book like this, or you could write a book like that, right? So it's important to share the idea with students that the books they read and enjoy are written by authors for them to enjoy. As students begin to understand this concept and make the connection that we write for readers, they begin to envision themselves as authors and illustrators who can look to their favorite books as writing models. One of my favorite stories when I talk about mentor texts is even with my youngest writers. When I was a kindergarten teacher, we started Writers Workshop on the first day of school. And of course, writing looks different in kindergarten. It might be random letters, it might be just drawing. But we would start the year with the book Brown Bear, What Do You See? And we would write together our own version of that book called Miss Gay, Who Do You See? And it would have the pattern of we see, and then it would have the name of each student in our class. So right away, we were writing like that author. And the kids were able to have their own copy and take that book home and begin to learn to read and write like another author. And then we need to be sure, of course, that they align with our standards, and especially the anchor standards. So 3 of the 10 anchor standards for reading help students add another layer of reading for meaning in analyzing the text. Okay? So the Common Core standards require readers to look beyond what is being told or taught in a text and to recognize how a text is written. 3 of the 10 anchor standards for reading help students add that layer, like I just said. And it helps them shift to a stance that helps them analyze how and why an author uses a particular craft and structure for his or her text. What this is going to look like at each grade level is going to be different. Of course, as you're moving up through the grade levels, the rigor of this will become greater and they will be able to explore this on a deeper level. Okay? And then student choice. Who doesn't want choice in what they're reading and what they're writing? So again, as in each grade level, this might look a little bit different and become more rigorous. But as students become familiar with this strategy, they may begin to choose their own mentor texts. They may be able to say, I am going to write a book like X, like whatever their favorite book is. So research suggests that it's recommended that as students become familiar with this strategy, that the teacher gradually releases that responsibility of finding and critically reviewing mentor texts to students. And the article that I took that from is actually talking about even using mentor texts at grade levels higher than K4. My presentation is more geared towards K4, but take that even higher with grades 5 through 8 and into high school. Like mentor text can be used right straight through. The level of this expectation would be determined, of course, by the grade level that you teach. So the ease strategy, it's called Learn It with Ease. And this strategy helps students delve deeper into writing and analyze author craft to read like writers and then to transfer this knowledge to write like readers. Okay? So E stands for examine, assess, suggest, and envision. Examine means let's focus on the author's craft. This allows the teacher the opportunity to work with the class to introduce and reinforce the various techniques that the authors employ. So again, depending on what your learning target or intention is what you will be focusing on. Assess. Why did the author write this particular way? How does the craft affect the specific audience? So the readers are starting to assess why the author may have chosen to write in a particular way. And these are some probing questions that you can use as the teacher to scaffold, and even starting right as, with our youngest learners. And then as kids get older, they're going to be asking these questions to themselves. That is our goal, right? Suggest. So, hey, students are asked to suggest a different way that an author could have chosen to write. This is the key aspect of this strategy because it requires students to consider alternative writing approaches that may also be powerful. This also can be done with our youngest learners. They may not be asked to write their own ending, but can't we start having these conversations during a shared reading or a shared writing of how can we change the ending? Let's write a totally different ending to this story. How would you like to see this story end? Let's change it together, right? Getting them having those deeper level conversations and thinking about how could I, if I were the author, how could I write this story? Okay. And then last but not least, envision. Students are going to consider how and when they might envision these strategies in their own writing moves, right? Similar to ones that are provided by their favorite authors. When could I use this move in my own writing? What would it look like? What genre would I use it in? Okay. Basically, this is, I feel, one of the most important steps of this strategy is that transfer of knowledge. Getting them to start thinking about how can I use this in my own independent writing. Okay. So to conclude this small presentation, there are many things which successful readers and writers learn without ever being taught, but there are times when a beloved text can open up new possibilities for our young writers. So mentor texts naturally support that connection between reading and writing. Using these texts to help students read for the joy of reading and to read to find ways an author uses certain writing techniques is such a powerful writing strategy at all writing levels. I would also like to add that I didn't have room in this presentation where it needed to be so short, but I will be providing lists and a document for my K4 teachers to add to and use as a resource that will have mentor texts for them to choose from and that we can add to together as the year goes on, as we find new ones. So thank you for listening, and I hope you all have an amazing and wonderful school year.